So how do you prepare for a match? Let's say you're preparing for a match, especially when you're at the top of the game, because this doesn't really happen that often, like in the futures and challenges, where if you're tearing through draws, you're gonna eventually go from futures to challenges, and then challenges to the ATPs and up. But then when you get to the top of the game, you're kind of seeing the same group of guys multiple times a year. So how does your preparation for the same person change depending on where you play them, or like what kind of things do you look for, you and your team look for in preparation for playing the same person several times in a year?
My preparation when I face any opponent doesn't really change. It remains consistent, and I go throughout my routines. To me, that is important to build a routine that you follow, consistently, and you are disciplined about the things that you do before you enter a match. I have a good, mobility activation before I get to the practice court. I make sure I warm up well all of my joints and make sure everything's activated and uh, warmed up before I enter the court, because the last thing that I want to do is get injured. And with those sort of limits that you reach these days, you kind of have to stretch pretty much everywhere around the court and be in a stretching position to play even the most difficult shots. Nothing's going to come easy when I play those guys. I know that I'm going to have to be at 100% of my game. um, I always make sure to have a good warm up before I enter the match. One thing that I make sure to do before playing any opponent is go through an analysis with both of my coach and any other team member that might be on the analytics part, to give me a clear understanding of how I need to approach my game, how I need the parts of the court that I need to focus more on, and where I should also be expected or expecting to sort of be pushed at around the court, uh, the potential tactic or strategy that they might use against me. And one thing that is super important, obviously in men's tennis, is knowing where your opponent is going to serve. So that is something that I spend a lot of time on checking before entering the court, to know what side of the court they would favor, on a juice side or on an ad side, and knowing where I should sort of prioritize a little bit more on a big point, because you also analyze the big points. It's not only the 15 holes and the 30 holes, it's the pressure points. You want to obviously know where they might favor it more. um, from experience, I know that most of them would want to favor my backhand when it comes to crucial points, so that kind of opens up a new door for me, knowing that there is something over there. I might consider it a little bit more when I'm playing. But at the end, it's not. This is not gonna decide the match. Knowing those things is not going to give you a match. It's an enhancement. It's something that might help you figure it out better. But at the end, you still need to do the job. You still need to put in the work during the match, and you still need to suffer the same way.
Can you give us one example of how something may change? Like if you play a player, let's say at Wimbledon on grass versus that same player on US Open, like how can the analytics change? Like would it be that they're preferring different like serving spots? Is it that they're attacking better to a certain direction? Like, or is it that they feel more pressure playing out of certain positions? Like how can the numbers change between one situation to another with the exact same player? Can you think of one?
Think of it as the court being split in four different boxes. The right side of the court is split into A, B, and the left side of the court is split into C, D. So there are certain opponents and players that prefer playing from the furthest, most extreme side of the court, which would be a D on the backhand. There are certain players that really like and thrive on those sort of situations and patterns. And there are other players where they might not be able to create angles as much, or might feel a little bit more pressured when you go more penetrating throughout the C side in their backhand, or the B side on their forehand. So there are all sort of tactics and strategies that you can apply to on how you want to perceive certain rally situations. It is very interesting because you never really consider those type of things when I played before. I never really considered those type of things. I felt like this kind of came a little bit more natural during a match, but now everything is as precise as it could be. Every single shot that I hit is measured, and I know that a specific part of the court might benefit me more than something else. I know that perhaps if I'm serving on a 40 all, my opponent might know that I'm most likely to serve out wide because it's a serve that I really like. So I try and change it up because even my opponent would go through analytics and all kinds of uh, measurements of stats, knowing where I would want to favor them, where I would favor myself more in certain situations. So it's almost like a chess game, I would describe it. At the end, you might predict certain things. They might work out or they might not, but it's a big mind game, tennis as a sport.
Thanks for watching this clip. If you want to watch the full episode, the link is in the description down below.